The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
You doing that thing you do, breaking my heart into a million pieces, like you always do. And you don't mean to be cruel. You never even knew about the heartache I've been going through. Well, I tried to forget you, girl, but it's just so hard to do. Every time you do that thing you do, I know all the games you play.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, actually for the next 4 hours, I'm going to be your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio. Let me see, Star Cable and XZoneRadioTV.com. If you'd like to give us a call, toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My first guest tonight, X-Zone Nation, is Mesa. And Mesa, welcome to the X-Zone, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Rob. Thank you very much. Well, I am a medium, spiritual reader, animal communicator, a spiritual counselor. Mm-hmm. I'm a twice-ordained minister, once as a metaphysical priest, the other as a non-denominational minister. I work in the fields of consciousness. I'm would be considered a mystic and an occultist, I guess. And I also work with some healing modalities, and most importantly, work with people in helping the level of consciousness come into a greater light, greater understanding, so we can effectively experience life with greater joy.
Tell me, Mesa, what started you on your quest into the world of metaphysics?
I always, as a child, just felt that there was such a big hole that could not be filled by anything that I was finding in the world. And I really didn't understand it for many, many, many years, and started a search in my late teens. I just felt like there had to be something more than my religious tradition was offering me. So I started really opening up, talking to people, most of which at that time, the people I was talking to had really no idea of what to say to me. Eventually started coming across some metaphysical literature from the masters, and that started ringing a bell, and I took off with it, and I've been going ever since.
Why do you think people today are looking towards metaphysics, New Age philosophy, New Age spirituality for answers that they can't seem to find anywhere else? What attracts people to the world of metaphysics?
I think, again, that wanting a connection with spirit that I think has really been lost in most of the traditional teachings that are out there. And I think that's a soul longing. And, you know, our soul just doesn't shut up. It keeps knocking on the door. And so it really enables us to go on a search and start to look out of the box and start to go down some paths that traditional religious practices would not avail us to. So I think that that's why people are really following that call. And that's why metaphysics is coming more to the fore. The metaphysical teachings, the deep esoteric teachings, have many, many answers, and more importantly, they can connect us to energies that are not available through the more traditional kinds of teachings that we come across in traditional religious paths.
Mesa, you and I have to take our first commercial break. Please stand by. Great having you with us here in the X-Zone. X-Zone Nation, Mesa is our special guest. And if you'd like more information, here's her blog site, me-sah.blogspot.com. That's Mesa. That's me-sah.blogspot.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as the X-Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada for today, Wednesday, September the 8th in the year 2010. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. Don't go away.
Okay.
Anything for you, though you're not here. Since you said we're through, it seems like years. Time keeps dragging on, and forever's been and gone. Still I can't figure what went wrong. I'd still do anything for you. I'll play your game. You hurt me through and through, but you can have your way.
X-Zone Nation, Mesa's our special guest to this hour. And Mesa, how would you describe the world of metaphysics to someone who may just be, checking things out and for the first time have heard the word metaphysics? How would you describe it?
Well, the word meta actually means beyond. So metaphysical really is talking about existences that are beyond the physical realm that we are not normally conscious of.
How do you know, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, how do you know that the world of metaphysics is real?
I would have to say that's my own experience. The things that I experience are definitely real to me. And so that's the only thing I can go by is what I experience, what becomes valuable to me and useful to me and true for me.
So how does the world of metaphysics work?
Well, definitely there's some different rules than we're used to in the physical world. There's different planes of existence which encompass different frequency realms. And within those realms, things work much differently. So, in the physical world, we're used to the duality that we deal with, hot, cold, love, hate, those kinds of things. We're used to the law of gravity. We're used to all of the physical laws. When you get into these other realms, those laws do not necessarily apply, and things work very differently. So it's really like stepping into a whole different experience, which can be very confusing if you're not well grounded, and it works very differently. So you have to have kind of an openness to experience those things, not be frightened, not be scared, not make snap decisions about what they are or what they're not. And then it becomes quite interesting and pretty darn entertaining.
How can the world of metaphysics be entertaining? I've never heard that phrase used in that context before.
Well, it's there's realms that are very blissful and ecstatic and joyful, and it's a very different energy and frequency than what's to be found in the physical world. that's totally entertaining. That brings new realizations. It expands the consciousness. It gives us new way to look at things. And as we look at things differently, we bring in different energies, and we can have a different experience in the physical.
How has the world of metaphysics and your quest to further investigate and to better understand and to share what you learn with others, how has this changed your life?
Oh, it's totally transformed my life. I had, as most people do, some experiences as a young person that were very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't look like the world was a particularly always wonderful place. As I got into metaphysics and I started connecting with these realms of more divine consciousness and divine beings, the joy and the ability to look at things in the physical as transitory and look at this divine energy as something that is always there, always blissful, always nourishing, really nurtured my soul and allowed me to deal with the kinds of things I was dealing with in the physical world in a much better and stronger way.
Would it be safe to say that the world of metaphysics makes itself known to those who actually look for it?
Yes. There are some people that sort of can connect with these other dimensions without meaning to,
mm-hmm.
and I talk to them all the time. But really and truly, to open the door to it is the secret of it. The more you're open to it and the more you're willing to experience it and expand on it, the more comes to you and more transformation you'll experience.
As a person who investigates the metaphysical world around us, what has been the most startling event that has happened to you or that you've witnessed ever since you started your investigation, your quest, your crusade?
That's a great question, Rob. There's been so many. I think one of the first things that happened to me was when I had an experience of being taken into a higher realm where I was in this very large room, many, many people there, and at the head of the room, there was, quote unquote, the Book of Truth. And I got to go up and read the book, and I remember reading the Book of Truth and thinking, wow, this isn't anything like what we think it is on Earth. That was one of my first big experiences. It was as real as talking to you today. And I became aware that, boy, there's a lot more out there than what I ever realized.
What was the Book of Truth like? Was it like we've seen depicted by artists and those in Hollywood, this big, massive book that has, like, I guess we can relate it to Santa's good boy, bad girl list?
Well, it wasn't really a list. It was my experience was it was a very large book.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you what it said because it was more an experience of I don't remember what it said, but it was more of the experience of the frequency of that energy, which I'm able now to connect with on an ongoing basis. You know, even the Bible says God is spirit, must be worshipped as spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The only true thing I've found is this energy, and that is truth. Everything else is a version of reality, which is different for you and me and everybody on the planet. We all experience our own realities,
mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean that it's what this truth is. This is never changing, this energy of what I call truth or God, whatever you want to say it is, source, the one.
Now, this Book of Life, is there a difference between the Book of Life and the Akashic Records that we hear so much about these days?
I believe there is. The Akashic Records are really a recording
mm-hmm.
of every thought, word, deed that's ever happened. The Book of Truth is the energy that creates all that we know.
So would we be able to say that the Book of Life is just one chapter of the Akashic Records or one part of the Akashic Records?
Well, now, the Book of Life, I think, is different than this Book of Truth that I was able to read.
Mm-hmm.
The Book of Life, I think, is related to soul's experiences, how they've dealt with them, that kind of thing. The Akashic Record is the record of that. So it would seem to me that the Book of Life and the Akashic Records are related, where the Book of Truth really is expressing this energy that is, this divine energy. It's the basis for all of creation.
Is there a specific message that you get for people that you'd like to share with those listening tonight?
I think the message would be that this energy resides within us. God resides within us. We can contact it. Contacting the God within is contacting the God that is. And that as we do this, it is life-transforming, life-giving, expands our awareness, expands our experiences, heals us, is the key to our healing path. And I've always been told by Spirit that the best healing tools are forgiveness and surrender. And I asked Spirit at one point, what is the purpose of being on earth? And Spirit told me the purpose of being on earth is to experience the glory of God. And that is that energy of what is, that energy of truth.
All right. Now, where does reincarnation play in the entire big picture, if at all?
Well, reincarnation, of course, is a very old doctrine that's been taught in metaphysical teachings. And it is true if we believe it is true. We experience what we believe. Now, the metaphysical teachings talk about reincarnation, how we go from life to life, and it's a process, and it's a growth tool. And when we get to the point where we don't need the lesson to be in a physical body on earth, we don't have to reincarnate anymore. We go into more divine realms. I have some question as to whether that has to be necessarily true. I believe that that is true because we have become separated from God, and that we have created much of the way that things, quote, are because of this separation, and because we have created these different belief systems. You know, we experience exactly what we believe. That doesn't mean it's true. It means it becomes our reality, but it doesn't mean it has to be true. And it's not truth per se.
So is God part of the metaphysical world?
Absolutely. To my experience in my mind, yes.
Why do you think that there are those religious philosophies that like to keep a barrier between the two then?
I think that God, for the most part, even the term God has an emotional charge on it that is connected with a lot of traditional religions. And I think that that is a problem. And I think that to move beyond those kinds of limits sometimes, we need to get beyond the word, the term.
So here we are in the year 2010, and there are still philosophies out there that have the dogmas that were developed and still practiced since the 1800s.
That's right.
Gotcha. All right, you and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Mesa is our special guest this hour, Exonation. If you'd like more information, her blog is me-sah.blogspot.com. That's me-sah.blogspot.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this news break as the X-Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
We're taking a news break.
You're listening to the X Zone Radio Show, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio,
Euro High Definition Radio,
and Star Cable. Our toll-free telephone number worldwide is 1-800-610-7035.
Our email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com.
On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com.
And our website,
www.xzoneradiotv.com.
Love was glass that broke apart. Give me faith.
Looking in your eyes, I see a paradise. This world that I found is too good to be true. Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you.
Let 'em say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart. And we can build.
Exonation, Mesa's our special guest to this hour. And Mesa, as a practitioner of the world of metaphysics, what is your take on what is going to happen on December the 21st, 2012?
I don't think much is going to happen, actually, Rob. I think that there's been so much publicity. You know, the Mayan calendar has that as an end date, but I think that is just, we're coming to the end of an age. We're coming to the end of a very large cycle. And it's certainly going to be that there'll be changes, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I think there's a lot of fear being projected. Actually, my information says that this whole 2012 date was something that was created by some dark forces. And it was to put us into fear, as we need to not be in fear to make this jump from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And, you know, there is in my view, my experience, a great battle between light and dark going on for the planet. If we're kept in fear, then that is a divisive intent. And we need to not be afraid of that. I don't think that there's much that's going to happen.
I look at it as the date when the Mayans are going to take that calendar down and put the next one up. Just like we do on, you know, at the end of our New Year's. Tell me, speaking about the battle between light and dark, good and evil, angels, do angels play a part of the metaphysical world?
Oh, very much, yes.
Tell me more about angels and what role they play in our daily lives.
You know, we each have our individual angels that evolve through our communication with them and through their service for us. Now, we all have a guardian angel. There are the archangels, but we have our personal band of angels. And when we ask them to help us, it helps them. They are angles of the mind of God. They are here to serve the God force in us, and they're very happy to do so.
How can we find out who our angels are, and if we need help from our angels, how do we get it?
Well, we just really ask. We don't really need to know who our angels are. There is an angelic language. It's very difficult. The names of the angels would be extremely difficult for us to understand or even pronounce or to even find. So we don't really need to know who they are. We have large groups of angels that work with us, and we can just ask them for help, and they will respond.
The angels that are depicted in the Bible and in other religious philosophies, where do they come from? How are they created?
They're created through the energy that is the source, God, what you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
They are, again, part of the mind of God. They are created through the intent of God, the thought process of God. They do not generally incarnate, although there have been exceptions. Mother Mary actually came from the angelic kingdom. But generally, they do not incarnate in the physical body. Now, the fallen angels, of course, have incarnated because they fell from that divine state of consciousness that they originally were created from. So that's kind of the story about angels. The ones that fell separated themselves from that one source, and they are part of the problem in terms of the fight between light and dark on the planet.
The UFO sightings that are being witnessed around the world or reported from around the world, is there a connection between the battle between the light and the dark, or the evil and the good forces, and UFOs?
Yes. To my understanding, there is. There are definitely beings on other planets. Some of them are in the physical realm. Some of them are not. Some of them are rather dark in their intent, like some of the ones that are active in North America, the Greys and the reptilians and such. Some of the ones would help us if they could, but my understanding is because of the agreements between the governments and the UFOs in the Western world, at any rate, the ones that would help us are, their hands are tied. We have free will. God does not interfere with our free will. If we want to make compacts, agreements with dark forces, God doesn't interfere. That's our responsibility to learn what that's about, and maybe next time make better agreements.
But what does God have to do with extraterrestrials?
Well, it's all part of creation. And so God is the original cause. So that when we make agreements or pacts with aliens that don't have our best interest in mind, and then we realize, oops, and then we call to God to help us, God may or may not respond.
Well,
there's a certain amount of responsibility, because we do have free will, that we take for our decisions.
But if God created the extraterrestrials, or they're all part of creation, how can they be evil? How can they be negative?
Well, that comes through intent. When creation started and the angels, creation started being clothed in matter, the full connection with the God force became lost. The ego was created. The ego is in usually direct conflict with the God self because the ego likes control. Then the darkness is created. Whenever we separate ourselves with God, we open the door to energies that are not in alignment with that truth, that original cause. And therefore, the more separation, the darker the energy.
Earlier, I asked you why the brick wall between metaphysical world and established philosophies and religions. We touched briefly on that, but I was wondering if we could go a little deeper, because it seems that if all religious philosophies are based on supernatural events, how can that wall stand?
Well, the Bible has been tampered with many times. A lot of information has been taken out. Reincarnation was basically taken out, except for a few references. The Bible is written on many layers. When somebody reads the Bible, they understand it according to their level of consciousness. There's much in there that cannot be accessed unless you have the keys. So there's much that has been hidden, much that does not. Some of the traditional religions do not want people to basically have, because it would free them from the power that the traditional religions hold over the people that are involved with them.
Why do you think, after having studied metaphysics for so long, why do you think that the extraterrestrials just don't make themselves known beyond a shadow of a doubt? Land on the front lawn of the White House, land on the front lawn of Parliament Hill here in Ottawa, Canada, land in Red Square in Moscow, land on the grounds of Buckingham Palace and other major centers. Why don't they just make themselves known?
I think that they don't need to. They certainly could, but I think they don't need to. I think they work in more subtle ways. I think that, the Greys, to my understanding, are interested in our DNA, interested in our emotional experiences, are doing genetic experiments, are crossbreeding. Mm-hmm. There are many people on the planet that did not originate on this planet, came from different genetic mutations that were at least overseen by different alien forces. The planet has been genetically mutated over many thousands and thousands of years.
But how do we know this? How do we know this is true?
Well, that's interesting. Science can't prove it. Again, this has to do with things that you come across in metaphysics that talk about these things, people that have experienced being abducted or having relationship with aliens, what they've been told, what they've experienced.
But once again, how do we know that they are actually experiencing a reality and not a figment of their imaginations?
Well, that's an interesting question. That's a very interesting question. I've worked with people that have had these kinds of experiences, and I would say they're real because these people were very, very frightened. It's not something they would choose to experience for themselves. That makes me think that they really did experience something.
And yet we can wake up from a nightmare and we believe that what we have just experienced in the dream state is real. So once again, how do we know that people who are claiming they've had contact with extraterrestrials who have told them that the planet is a mixed match of different life forces who have experimented, and there are so many questions, and yet when I keep asking the question, why don't they just show themselves to make it well known, it seems that there's never a direct answer. And as a journalist, as a broadcaster, and as a researcher, investigator, I find it very frustrating that there is so much hypothesis out there. There's so much, well, you know what? There is no proof, but it's real. It's very confusing. I
think it is confusing. I want to go back to what you said about having a nightmare or waking up from a dream. That's as real as our day-to-day consciousness, because at night we do leave our bodies, we go into the astral realm. Now, my understanding is the UFOs, many of them come in and out from that realm, so they don't have to stay in the physical realm. But I think your point is well taken. I think that really they don't want to exhibit themselves in that way. There have been a lot of instances where people have seen huge groups of UFOs, especially in Mexico, where it was really established by lots and lots of people that saw all these crafts flying around. Why they don't just land and say, hey, how are you?
But I guess a better question that not very many people ask is, why in the name of heaven would UFOs be interested in a country like Mexico?
Interesting. I think it's they're interested in our genetic makeup.
All right, so let me ask that question again. What is so fascinating or interesting about the DNA makeup of a Mexican? Like we're not talking about a species who is going forward economically or sociologically.
I don't think they're interested in the socioeconomic situation.
All right, well then once again, why would an alien show so much interest in a Mexican?
I don't think that UFOs have been seen around the world. I don't think there's more interest in one nationality than in another. I don't think that's the issue.
And yet, according to statistics, when it comes down to the different countries and the different belief ratios, there is certainly a significant difference in the countries that are on an educational level compared to other countries and a sociological level, and the number of UFO sightings that are reported. I find this very interesting.
That is very interesting, and I don't have an answer for that. I wish I did, but I don't have an answer for that. I don't know.
Have you ever had a UFO experience?
I have had experiences that I consider to be UFO experiences. Have I seen a little gray guy walk out of a ship and come to me? No. Have I seen things flying around that were unidentified? Yes.
Sure, we all
have. I felt energies that were very foreign? Yes. Have I had experiences where people that I've been around had experiences that I would definitely define as UFO experiences? Yes. Have I had dream states where I was in contact with UFOs? Yes.
So how do we explain all these people who claim to have been on UFOs that are 50 miles wide, 100 miles high, that have been circling the different planets? How do we explain their claims?
I think that, the most I could say is they definitely experienced something. They believe it is what they say it is. They believe that experience has been real. And whether it's real in their imagination or in a conscious kind of physical reality, I don't know that it makes too much difference. The imagination is just a different part of our mind.
All right, I hate to do this, but you and I have to take our final break. Please stand by. Okay. Exonation Mesa's our guest this hour. For more information, me-sah.blogspot.com.
Well, I just got back from Roswell, where the aliens have been. And if you ask the feds the cause, well, they'll only lie again. Now I'm hunted by the gumshoes, and I'm wanted by the cops, 'cause they think that I might be the guy making circles in the crops. And I know that there's a conspiracy from the voices in my head. Elvis lives, that's clear to me. It's McCartney who is dead. And if the Mars men should come again and take me, I will go. I will take a trip on their rocket ship. God bless the UFO. Give JFK this message. It's the Cuban Army's fault. And I know that Dave Koresh is alive inside a vault. We've seen reports in papers of a guy who knows about a car that runs on chewing gum, but the Arabs rubbed him out. And we loudly warn that America is badly unprepared. With the Cold War through, we need something new that can get you good and scared. Do you wonder just who is warning you of conspiracies today? We're the ones who fill the rumor mill. We are the CIA.
Exonation Mesa's our special guest this hour. For more information about Mesa, her website is me-sah.blogspot.com. Mesa, where do ghosts fit into the world of metaphysics? Are they the remnants of those who lived here before?
What we call ghosts can be several things. They can be a spirit that has been trapped on the earth, has not let go, has not gone on to other realms. They can be the shell of the energy of a person that has passed on, and that shell, that energy has not dissipated yet. They can be what's called imprints, which is like a tape that plays over and over and over and produces certain maybe visual or auditory kinds of things. So it can be several different things.
How should people prepare themselves if they are planning on becoming more metaphysically involved?
That's a great question. I think that to be able to just be open to some new information, different information that may, for some people, be a bit uncomfortable, be willing to open up to have communication with the higher forces. And I think it really gets down to the intent. So I think if we focus our intent and we make the call and we're open to it, we will be able to contact a greater environment of consciousness than what we normally do.
I guess my final question is, why do ghosts try to communicate with people who are alive? Or do they really try to communicate, or is it the desire of the person seeing the apparition who wants the desire and has the desire to communicate?
It can be either. Oftentimes, if there's unfinished business, the ghost will want to communicate in order to get that taken care of. It can be a message they're trying to get to somebody. A lot of times it's just tell them I'm okay. Or it can be something that they haven't come to terms with. It can be that they're so attached to the physical they don't want to move on. They don't know that where they're going or there's anything better. Sometimes if people very badly want to connect with the spirit will respond and will connect.
All right, Mesa, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care of yourself. Continued success. And Exo Nation, if you'd like more information about Mesa, me-sah.blogspot.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break in 2 minutes as the Exo continues right here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.